Welcome to the Women's Connection. I'm Barrie-Louise Switzen, your moderator. The Women's Connection is a program about events shaping women's lives and helping one gain authentic power on a personal or professional level. So won't you stay tuned?
Welcome. Rising to the top of a corporation is a daunting experience to begin with. Becoming president and CEO of a major corporation for a woman is very unheard of, especially in a men's world. I would like to welcome the president and CEO of Volvo Cars of North America, Anne Belec. Anne, welcome.
Hello, Barrie.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
When you were offered the presidency, what went through your mind as far as how did you feel? What did you think?
I was stunned initially. I felt a huge responsibility. Volvo Cars North America is the largest global market for Volvo. So it was a big responsibility from a company standpoint, but also as a woman getting into a leadership position like this in the car industry, I felt a huge responsibility towards other women in the company and outside the company. But I was also excited because I thought, finally, I'm going to be in a position to really influence the outcome of our business.
Wonderful. Growing up, did you have goals?
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, I had all sorts of goals because I come from a family of 6 kids, and
wow.
My parents certainly instilled in us, the need to look forwards, to take responsibility, and to set goals for ourselves. But I would not say that I necessarily had aspirations to run a company, not back then growing up. But we looked at much shorter term goals, but that sort of defines the way you look at life as you progress. So certainly I wanted to do well in school and graduate from high school and get a university degree, etc.
Did you accomplish all your goals?
Mm-hmm. No, I would not say all the goals are accomplished. Otherwise, life becomes a little boring. Professionally, I think I've progressed very well, and I'm very pleased with what I've done so far. If I continue to progress, it'll just be bigger and more complex elements of the same sort of thing. So I would say my next set of goals are more directed towards the community, getting more involved with the community. I'd like to have a family and spend more time with family. But again, I think you also have to sort of appreciate where you are for a moment, and I would love to actually stay in my position for some time.
How did your career evolve?
A lot of people ask me if there was sort of a marquee event or an epiphany that happened at some point, and I'm sorry, I can't really say that happened. It was more an evolution. It took me 20 years to get to where I am today, but it was just basically being offered a first opportunity to get a position in the automotive business, and then accepting the challenges, taking some risks along the way, and just basically focusing on the job at hand.
Did you have a role model?
Unfortunately, there weren't a lot of certainly not female role models in our business, so I can't say that was the case from a professional standpoint, but I think I had a lot of role models at home. Oh. My mother was a professor in a local college teaching English. My sisters before me also set the pace, so I think I was surrounded with lots of great role models.
That's terrific. What skill sets do you have that make you stand out?
I think mostly I've been true to myself. So I grew up with a set of values, with ethics, work ethics. I work hard, and I've always sort of believed in myself and stayed true to my core values. So I think when you don't try to follow the rest of the group, but be yourself, that allows you to stand out.
Would you please share with us some of the lessons you learned, or upon reflection, Would you share with us how it changed or transformed you?
I think you learn through your different experiences throughout your career and in your life. I would say one of the lessons that I have learned is the need to trust other people. I attributed my success in my career early on my contributions. I was somebody who was driven, I was self-motivated, I was a perfectionist. So all these things I accomplished more or less on my own. When I was in a leadership position, managing a lot of people, I couldn't do everything myself, so I had to learn to trust others. But the lesson was that you cannot trust without boundaries. You can't trust blindly. You have to trust people, but you also have to have checkpoints, and you have to kind of go back to them. One example, it was when I was in sales operations, I asked a group of employees to prepare a sales review for me with graphics, etc. And a couple of days later, I hadn't seen any outcome of that assignment. So I went down and asked them what had happened to the assignment. And they said, "Oh, we didn't do it because we just felt that information existed in several other reports. So why would we create one more?" And I was stunned. But it taught me a lesson that it was a good thing I went back and checked midway through the period, so then I had still time to react and explain to them what I was looking for and why it was important to have a good, concise story to tell, the management team, and not just several reports with numbers.
Did you find that this happens more with men because they're envious, or they're just men and that's how they react, or was it across the board?
No, I wouldn't say it's just men. I think it's important for employees, no matter what their gender is, to understand the purpose of the assignments you give them, or the initiative that you want to launch. And in fact, I found that while it may take a little bit more of your time initially, it's worth its weight in gold in terms of really getting buy-in, and sometimes even getting additional ideas and innovations out of the assignment, because people understand where you're going with it rather than just be given a task.
So they feel part of the team.
Yes.
What mistakes do you think women make climbing the corporate ladder?
I think women in general are much more verbal about what they feel, what they think, and so on. And I think at times we overdo it. So say there's a man and a woman, they're both given a very, very difficult challenge. The woman will typically start expressing all the concern, the uncertainties around the assignment and so on, like she's going through the thinking process. The man will say, "Thank you for the opportunity," and go off and start thinking through the same things probably. But we tend to just bare our souls. We tell it all, and sometimes it comes across as lack of confidence, insecurities, etc. And I think we have to learn to shut our mouths sometimes and just keep it inside, even though you're still going to have to go through the same process to think it through. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're less capable of addressing the challenge, or you're not going to do even a better job. But I think that we have to be careful about what we project.
Would you say this is something like men don't ask questions?
No, not necessarily. I think men will ask questions. I think we just do it in a different way. And it's particularly an issue when the person we're verbalizing all this is a man.
Thinking about individuals who have impacted your life, has there been a common thread throughout?
Yes, I think the people who had an impact on me were people who had very strong values and ethics to begin with, but they were people. They spent time, getting to know you and understanding what you were all about. They're people of vision. They can look beyond what's just there in front of their faces. And I learned from these people. Some of them were my supervisors, or some of them were in my more social life. But what was great about it is that they could see beyond just the immediacy of what surrounds them, and then show their values and consistency of beliefs.
Were any of these people a mentor to you or a sponsor?
I'd say I've had more informal mentors in my career than formal mentors. So, yeah, I think some of them have been, whether they knew it or not. Because it's not, when you have informal mentors, they don't always see themselves as mentors. You don't always think of them also as mentors, but the fact that they take the time to teach you some things or be a sounding board to you, that's the function of the mentor.
Did you have trouble finding a mentor, or did it just kind of evolve naturally?
I think it just evolved naturally. Again, I think there are some people you just naturally gravitate to because you like their philosophies. I think that there are people who are naturally there because they supervise you or they manage you, so you have a chance to observe their leadership.
Being at the top, do you feel isolated? And if so or not, who do you go to if you have a problem or something that you want to bounce off? Do you have like a kitchen cabinet or networking group that you are plugged into? It is lonely. It definitely is lonely. I mean, you can't pour your soul out to your employees. You don't necessarily have peers that are very close by when you need to bounce some ideas. So you have to look a little bit outside. I do have a good network of colleagues within the company, but also within the industry and outside the industry, which is also very good. Sometimes it's good to get outside the framework and get some different perspective. We have a group in California where I live called the 5 o'clock Divas. Oh.
And it's a group of about 12 to 15 women. We get together about once a month, and these women come from past lives, people I've worked with in the past. Some come from advertising agencies or from other companies now. And we do just fun stuff together, but we always kind of have an opportunity to talk about what's going on in our lives.
And this has really been a core situation for you to help. You know, I guess you always need somebody to bounce something off of. It can be the most inane thing, but if you hear yourself speak it,
Yes.
then sometimes you solve the problem yourself.
Right, you need an ear, and sometimes that's sufficient.
How did you handle the competition? Because there obviously has been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's always competition, and a lot of times there's also self-competition. I found for me what worked was, yes, to take a look at who does things best out there. I mean, when I was a field manager, if there was a field manager that had a good system for, selling, then I would watch and see what was going on there. But mostly I was self-imposing my own standards, and I'm a perfectionist, so I always want to do better, and if I make mistakes, I go back and take a look at why these mistakes happen to prevent them from happening again. So I'd say it was mostly keeping my nose to the grind. What's my challenge? What's my job? And don't get distracted too much by everybody else around you, but try to figure out, how you can do the best job you can.
If you were to describe yourself in 3 adjectives, how would you do it, or how would somebody describe you in 3 adjectives?
I think they would say I'm an approachable, warm person. I like to think I'm simple too. I mean, it's actually an ability that I've had to take very complex issues or things and try to narrow them down to its simplest form. It's helped me a lot in communication with large groups of people. And I think they would say I'm a person of consistency, of values. I like to think people see me as a very genuine person. If I believe something and I commit to something, I will do it.
What is the best piece of advice you have been given or wish you had been given?
Pay yourself first. Don't forget to pay yourself. And if there's anything, I mean, we hear a lot discussions around work-life balance and so on, and I'd have to say that I have struggled in finding that right balance, and that's because you always keep yourself last. And I think you have to learn to reward yourself or take time out for yourself, as well as giving to others. My administrative assistant sent me a note yesterday, and she goes, "Don't you ever say no." You know, when people say, "Are you going to join us for this community walk? Or are you going to do this? Or are you going to do that?" And sometimes it's hard to say no, but you have to learn that you need the time to yourself. You have to re-energize in order to be able to give more to others.
How do you re-energize?
I like to do outdoor activities. So I go hiking with my dog. I like to play tennis, garden. I love to cook. People say, "Oh, you cook, you know, it's another chore," and so on. But for me, on the weekends, you know, cooking is therapy.
Ah, I love it. If you could speak to your 20-year-old self, what would you say?
I would say, pace yourself. It's a long ride, so no need to rush and do everything all at once. And I would say just stay true to yourself. Just always. There's no point in trying to emulate your counterparts. Your own brand value is what counts.
How would you like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered as somebody who made an impact on somebody else's, not just their career, but their lives. That I've given them a chance or coached them into developing themselves along the way. So maybe as a coach, that would be one way to describe it.
What particular gift or gifts would you like to give women?
Sisterhood. I think a lot of women believe they're alone, that they have no one around them who understand, who've gone through the same things that they're going through and so on. And I don't think that's true. In fact, I just recently was honored by Automotive News.
Congratulations.
Thank you. 100 influential women in the automotive business, and I was quite flattered because you know, I thought it was quite the statement to say you have an influence in such a big industry. But when I went to the dinner event that they hosted, and I saw all these other women who were powerful women with powerful messages, and what they were describing was exactly what I felt or what I had gone through. And it made me realize that you're not alone. You don't have to shoulder it. You have other women, and you should leverage these other women who offer sisterhood.
Well, that's beautiful. Where do you see yourself next?
Well, I believe I have the best job in the world right now, so I would very much like to stay on in this capacity for a number of years. And I feel it's very important at this stage in my career because when you have full responsibility for a market, there's strategy involved, there's planning, there's execution, and then you want to see the results of the execution and then maybe modify the plan. So you need a 5 to 7 year outlook. But whatever happens as a next step in the future, I'm going to be selective. I want to do something that I love doing, and I want to do something that I feel will have a direct impact or contribution to the company. So I really believe that when you reach a certain point, you deserve to do something that you want to be doing, that you love doing.
You travel quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give women traveling? Because you're on different time zones. You're not sleeping in your own bed. Mm-hmm. You eat irregular. How do you stay healthy and fit?
Take vitamins, shut off your phones, snatch sleep whenever you can, and exercise. I know sometimes it's difficult. In fact, one of the issues with exercising when you travel is that you need an extra suitcase for all the extra clothes you need to bring, or running shoes and so on. But even if it's just a short walk, getting some fresh air and so on, and when you travel internationally through different time zones, to get on your new time zone as soon as possible. What I find is that I'm usually so exhausted I will sleep anyway. By the time I get to my hotel room, I actually sleep great in the hotel rooms.
Do you find that there is a different culture between men and women in the various areas that you've worked?
I would say that I'm really blessed in terms of where I work at Volvo Cars. Volvo is a company that has at its core values, this humanistic care philosophy. Volvo's always been known for being safe, but they're also into environmental care, into quality and quality of life. And because all of these values at the foundation revolve around people, what I find in this company, and that's why I love working there, is that they don't really focus on gender. I worked in Sweden for 1.5 years, and there's tons of women who work at Volvo there. There's women on the line, these gorgeous, tall, blonde Swedish women work on the line, they work in the office. It's I don't see that distinction in this company. That may exist elsewhere, I don't know, but I think I've been blessed in that there was a company in the automotive business that would have facilitating getting a female CEO in their largest market. Volvo was the company, and I don't think that the senior management team in Sweden looked at me and said, "Oh, here's a woman. We're not really sure if she's going to be able to do the same job as a man." I don't think they view it that way at all.
What would you like to leave the audience with?
I guess the fundamental message is that you have to be yourself. No need to emulate anyone else. Stay true to your values, and everything is possible. I mean, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have thought of myself in this position, not because I didn't think I had the capabilities, but because I didn't think I would have the opportunity. So we're making progress. Things are really changing for women. Of course, we're very patient people, so there's still work to be done, and there's still progress to be made. But looking back, I mean, there's been a lot of change, I think, in the business world overall, and I think that it's important as you progress that you look inside, that you think about what values you espouse, because then it's important that you match yourself to the company you're going to work with or for. And for me, Volvo is the kind of company that absolutely fits what I believe in.
Have you always worked for Volvo?
No, I've been with Volvo a relatively short period of time, but I've been working with Ford Motor Company, who's the parent company to Volvo, for 20 years.
Oh, wow. So you've been basically one company all this time.
Pretty much, yes. Mm-hmm.
That's miraculous, because I know people jump around.
Yes. Well, I think the beauty of working for a large corporation is you can have multiple careers and multiple opportunities within one company. So I could almost describe different careers I've had over this 20 years. I mean, I've worked in finance, I've worked in advertising, I worked in sales, I worked in product development, and I think that's what's kept the interest and developed me along the way.
So basically, it sounds almost as if they were grooming you.
Yeah, whether it was deliberate or totally by chance, I don't know, but I've certainly was given the opportunity several times along my career, and I took the risk. At times people have said, you're insane. Why are you doing this? You know, you're going to ruin your track, more or less. I distinctly remember I had a position in advertising at one point, and I was offered to switch over to the parts division in the finance, in the controller's office. And I didn't have a finance background at all. And I said, oh, I'll try it. And I think the lesson there is that you should not underestimate your capabilities. What you need is the ability to learn. And what happens when you are willing to step outside of your comfort zone, to learn new things, to broaden your horizons, that gives you a differentiation factor. And I think that's been a big part of my success, that when I started to rise in the management ranks, they were looking for people who had a little bit of a broader experience. But if you've grown in the different silos, functional silos, you don't get that experience.
Do you find that there is a different culture between men and women in the various areas that you've worked?
I would say that I'm really blessed in terms of where I work at Volvo Cars. Volvo is a company that has at its core values, this humanistic care philosophy. You know, Volvo's always been known for being safe, but they're also into environmental care, into quality and quality of life. And because all of these values at the foundation revolve around people, what I find in this company, and that's why I love working there, is that they don't really focus on gender. I worked in Sweden for a year and a half, and there's tons of women who work at Volvo there. There's women on the line, these gorgeous, tall, blonde Swedish women work on the line, they work in the office. You know, it's, I don't see that distinction in this company. That may exist elsewhere, I don't know, but I think I've been blessed in that, you know, there was a company in the automotive business that would have facilitating getting a female CEO in their largest market. Volvo was the company, and I don't think that the senior management team in Sweden looked at me and said, oh, here's a woman, we're not really sure if she's going to be able to do the same job as a man. I don't think they view it that way at all.
How should women act in the workplace?
Well, they should be themselves. I mean, I've had the question before on how should you dress? Should you dress more like a man with suits and pants and things like that? I dress for myself. When you dress in a way that makes you feel good about yourself and confident and so on, that's the way it should be. You shouldn't try to change your voice just to make it louder and more aggressive and so on. You have to be yourself. I think that it's actually an advantage. The fact that you look and sound and express yourself differently is an advantage. It naturally creates attention, and you can use that to get your message across. So I think you know, you need to act professionally, of course, but be yourself.
Anne, thank you so much for joining me. It's been wonderful.
Great, excellent.
And thank you for joining us also. If you have any questions for Anne Belec, please write us. She'd be happy to answer them. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts about getting ahead in the corporate world.